Hey, Nighthawks!
We're academic coaches at UNG,
and we spend our days in coaching conversations,
talking all about your success in college,
the tough moments, the little wins,
understanding your strengths and the skills you need to thrive.
We're here to share real coaching moments,
offer you practical strategies,
and simple steps that you can apply today.
We believe you have what it takes to succeed at UNG,
and we're cheering you on every step of the way.
This is Nighthawk Coach Talk. Hey, and welcome back to Nighthawk Coach Talk. Today I'm here with Deanna Simons, our Assistant Director of Online Student Success. Hey, Deanna.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes.
And so we are here today to tell you all about how to be successful in your online classes. Deanna has been working with online student success for a while now.
7 years.
7 years. Yes. So you've probably learned a lot in your 7 years.
A thing or two, yeah.
And so she has come prepared with a lot of really cool, good information for you. And I think we'll just start and see how far we get, and then we might have to do a part 2 to get them all.
So there's just so many tips to be successful,
so many
but
good
we
things.
Need to split it into 2.
Yes.
So, okay.
All right. So what would be your number 1 tip to tell students on how to be successful in online classes?
Well, I've got exactly 10, but
okay.
The first things first, you probably need to figure out which type of online class you're enrolled in. That's very frequent that we get. So UNG, we have 2 online course options, UNG Online and eCore. UNG Online is taught exclusively by UNG instructors. It is delivered through Desire to Learn. And then eCore is taught by the University System of Georgia. So you can have an instructor from Kennesaw State, things like that. And then you can also have different students as well in your class that are from different institutions. And so those are standardized with structured modules and centralized support. It's going to have a different schedule. It's going to have different support systems from UNG. And then, so it's just important to figure out which one you're enrolled in. And the way you do that is in your banner, it'll say like GoView or D2L for the like method type.
Gotcha. And those are 2 separate like login platforms, right?
Yes. It is 2 separate login platforms. So you've got D2L and then GoView for eCore. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I know sometimes students will pull up and be like, I don't have this class that I'm enrolled in. And you're like, is it an eCore class? Because that's a whole
and they get a lot of communication from eCore. Okay. eCore will call and text and pound down your door like if you're not logging into your class. But it's very overwhelming at the beginning of the semester, with students trying to figure out where to go, for in-person, online, if they're in a combination of things. So it's easy to get confused, but that would be the number 1 tip would be to figure out which type of online class you're enrolled in.
Yes.
Awesome. To ensure you're logging in and completing attendance verification requirements, which would be the introduction, discussion, and attendance quiz, because if you do not complete those, you will be withdrawn for non-attendance. Yes. So we want to avoid that, and any reinstatement fees. So yeah, that's vital.
Yeah.
That would be the number 1 tip.
I love it. All right. So moving on to number 2.
Yes, number 2. Here we go. So treat online classes like real classes. Ooh. There is a big, myth that online is easier because, you're not held as accountable as in person. But they do require strong self-discipline and time management, often more than in-person classes. So students who treat online classes casually often fall behind quickly because the structure is not built in. So when you approach it with the same rigor as you would an in-person course, you are going to have more success.
Yes.
So
I hear that all the time. Students who they're like, I'm going to take an online class because I think it'll be more flexible.
Yeah.
And it is, but you also have to be so much more disciplined and almost treat it like you said, like a normal class, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to set aside time to get this work done for my online class.
Yes. And so students, especially when they're like, well, I'm very forgetful. And, if someone's not reminding me to do something, then I often forget to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if online is free. It's not for everyone. So it just depends on your teaching or your style. So tips for that would be to set a consistent class schedule for your courses. Plan for what's known as like the full-time commitment. So a 3 credit hour course would typically require anywhere from 6 to 9 hours per week of work, depending on the class and your learning style. If you're better with math or history or science, some of the courses may require obviously more time than others. Actively engage with the material, meet deadlines like they're non-negotiable, and then show up mentally, not just physically or digitally, but mentally preparing and kind of getting rid of all distractions, which can be very hard. I know it's hard for me, especially when I try to work from home, like all the little distractions along the way. So zeroing in and focusing on, your assignments and then holding yourself accountable. So those would be the tips for that particular tip.
Yes, I love that. I actually had a student tell me he had family and other things kind of going on, distractions at his house. And so he would put like a little sticker on the door that said like, work in progress, so he like on his office.
Oh yeah.
To know that like, okay, this is the time where I'm
not
doing
come
school.
into me.
Do not bother me. I've got to lock in and get this done.
Yeah, it reminds me of like those memes that you see where they'll stick like a coworker will be like, I'm like, don't bother me, like I'm easily distracted, and they'll stick it on their back. Like, yeah,
I love that. Yeah, we all need
very
that.
Similar.
Yes. So treat it like it is a normal class. In person.
and in person have designated times for to study.
Awesome.
So that would be
awesome.
The second tip.
Love it. All right, number 3.
Yes. Okay. So create a weekly schedule. So you want to block out time for each class like you would in-person lectures. To do this, you can use a planner or calendar to track due dates and exams because assignments can pile up quickly, and it's always so overwhelming, especially at the beginning of the semester. I always remember doing that as a student that struggled with a lot of anxiety. That it's like the first day is always the most overwhelming when you log in and you're like, oh dear God, how am I going to do all of this?
Yes.
Like either whether it be in a first short session, second short, like full, but it's really taking it a week at a time and planning ahead is the biggest tip for that. So you can break study time into manageable chunks as to not overwhelm yourself, block time for each course, use the digital planner, and then schedule time early in the week. So
that is like the number one thing I do with students. And even for myself, so I'm in classes right now too, and they're online. And so the first thing I do is go through my syllabus and write everything down. And then I'm also like get a little anxiety by looking at everything.
Yes, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, so I like black it all out except for like the week and the week after, so that I'm like, okay, this is my focus this week. This is my focus. Things I need to like think about for next week.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, we're not worried about because it's not there yet. But I know I won't forget because it's on my calendar.
Yeah, and it's not just seeing it on your calendar. It's like, okay, you have Unit 3 assignment due. What is Unit 3 assignment?
Yes.
How long is that going to take me to do?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, so how far in advance do I need to work ahead to be able to plan for this? Because just because it's due that day doesn't mean, okay, I need to work on it this day. Like, that's not how that works. Like, you don't know how many components. So that's also a big tip that I have for students is to really take the time to look at all of it, as overwhelming as it can be, but just know you've got all semester, however long to do it. Like, but that's the best thing you can do to plan ahead for each assignment, because each assignment's not going to take the same amount of time.
That's true.
So, like, just planning ahead in that regard as well.
Yes.
So.
It makes me think of New Girl. Have you ever seen New Girl?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's this scene where he has to like do his like receipts and taxes, and the one guy was like, it's due today. And he's like, yeah, it's the due date, D-O date. And he's like, no, today's the D-U-E day. Like,
D-U-E, not D-O.
Doing it all along.
You should have been doing it. Yeah, that's funny.
So I think about that when I'm working with students. Like, it might be the due date, but you should have been doing it.
Yeah, you have no idea how long this is
then.
going to take you. Like, especially with online, a lot of the projects in eCore now do require video camera recordings, like of you summarizing your findings. And if like your web camera happened to break, yesterday, and the assignment's due today, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? But
yeah, prepare in advance.
Preparing in advance, and especially for like proctored exams and things.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
we'll get to. But yeah,
yes. Okay, so creating a weekly schedule. Well, first knowing what classes, what online class you're in, and then treating it like an in-person class.
Yes.
Creating your weekly schedule. What's number 4?
Lucky number 4. Okay, so this kind of piggybacks off of point number 1, but we'd just like to reiterate this even more. Understand different calendars. So especially with eCore.
Yes.
This is a huge issue. So they do follow a different academic calendar than UNG. So double checking start dates, deadlines, holidays, and exam windows. A good example of this would be the first week of second short session classes was our spring break. So you're really not on spring break if you're in a second short session eCore class because your course just started. And so that first assignment and the mandatory introduction quiz and the attendance quiz and introduction discussion would be due that Sunday. So it's like, you definitely want to pay attention to the calendar for eCore for sure. And then understanding and planning for these will help you stay organized, avoid missed deadlines, and reduce unnecessary stress. So deadlines may not align with your other courses for eCore classes. And then exams and proctoring testing windows can differ. There's been many times where, like, the start and end dates, it would be like a week behind. So that even the withdrawal deadline's different, like all the things. So just keeping that in mind. Like maybe UNG wouldn't start till like August 17th, but like eCore started a week before, and so we're like,
we're behind already.
Yeah.
Yes, I see that all the time, especially with the withdrawal deadline of students. I'm like, oh, UNG's withdrawal deadline is this date, and they don't realize eCore's was like the week before, or things like that. So knowing that calendar and checking your email too for
that is our primary method of communication. I know you get like a million emails a day, but some of those really are important. I've had to learn that too, even as a faculty staff member, where I've missed I was like, oh, that wasn't spam. That was actually something I needed to do. So I'm guilty of it as well. So I have learned that even if it looks like spam, to for sure still read it because it could be important. Yeah, because we do communicate that way primarily, just to,
Yeah. So know your dates.
Yes. Know your dates.
I put them in my calendar the beginning of the semester, like withdrawal deadline, first day classes, all the different things. And so I don't have any eCore classes, but I would definitely put those dates in there too.
Yeah, and specify eCore.
Yes, eCore withdrawal deadline absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Number 5. This will be our last one for this session.
Okay. Here we go. And then stay tuned.
Yes.
Because there's more. Yeah. Okay. Preach. Stay ahead. Do not procrastinate.
Oh my gosh.
Which I was the queen of the pot calling the kettle black. I was like, I have time to do that. And all of a sudden, you don't.
Nope, it comes up fast.
Yes. So like we talked about, one of the biggest advantages of online courses is flexibility, but it's also one of the biggest risks. So when you can work anytime, it's easy to delay work until deadlines are right on top of you. So procrastination in online courses does tend to snowball. Once you fall behind, it almost becomes impossible to catch up. And so that's something I see with students who, don't log in frequently or just aren't completing assignments on time. They just essentially kind of give up.
Yeah.
Because it just becomes too much. They've already missed.
Don't know.
And each instructor's makeup policy is different. Some will allow for partial credit up to a certain period of time. Some don't allow it at all. And it's like remembering all those as well. And then they just kind of taper off. So let's not do that.
No.
So staying ahead will help you reduce stress, produce higher quality work, and stay in control of your schedule rather than constantly reacting to deadlines. So start assignments as soon as they open. Work at least 2 to 3 days ahead of the deadline. Yep. Break larger tasks into smaller steps so it's not as overwhelming. And then use lighter weeks to get ahead because some assignments, if will pile up if you let them. Avoid the I have time mindset, which is so easy to do.
Yep.
And then plan for, especially discussion posts early. So a lot of times in online courses, the initial discussion post will be due separately from the peer responses. So the initial one will obviously be due first because the idea is to get you to engage, multiple times with your peers and actually have it be like a true discussion. So that's important to note as well. And then expect the unexpected, this little thing called technology. Woo-hoo. So if your computer decides to die on you, the day an assignment's due, that's not good. If you're in an online course, and just so you're aware, the IT department at, I believe it's all the campuses, they do have loaner laptops. So you could, like, if you have a proctored exam and through Respondus Lockdown Browser, something like that requires you to enable your web camera and microphone, that is automatically built into the IT laptops, and you would be able to take your exam that way. So food for thought on that.
I feel like those are like so many good tips all wrapped into one tip.
Yay! Yeah.
Don't
I saved the best for somewhat last.
That is a great one to end on. So let's just kind of like revisit the top 5, or maybe not top 5, but the first 5.
The first 5.
So knowing what classes you have, whether it's eCore, D2L, or obviously in-person classes. Number 2, treating your online class like an in-person class.
Yes.
So setting aside that time, same priority for online classes. Number 3, creating that schedule. Super important. Just make sure you stay on top of everything. Number 4, understanding, the different calendars. Yes. So important. So at least just be aware, write them down, put them somewhere, make sure you know the different calendar dates. And then the last one, which is probably my favorite. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate.
Yes, you really don't have time.
You do not have time. So stay on top of it. Stay ahead. Yeah. All right. So as we are wrapping up today, let's talk about a student who falls behind in their online class. Like, you gave some really awesome tips, but they were all a little bit more proactive. So let's say you are middle of the semester, end of the semester, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm behind. What would you recommend?
Well, first things first, you're going to want to talk to mom or dad. You're going to want to talk to the professor and see if there's any way, and especially preferably before the withdrawal deadline. I hope you've not realized that you've not been involved in this course and it's like the day before it ends. Like, hopefully this is at least before the withdrawal deadline, so you can get an idea of if your grade is salvageable or if it's going to result in a withdrawal. And in my humble opinion, a withdrawal does not mean that you failed. It just means that it just wasn't right for the time, and it's always going to be better than getting an F. Yes. Like failing the course, no matter what. But yes, communicating with your instructor to see what their makeup policy is. Well, first of all, checking the makeup policy.
Because you can do that on your own.
Because you can do that on your own. But then asking, because sometimes it's circumstantial, maybe. I mean, we work with kids, they fall behind for a plethora of reasons. I just worked with a student, and unfortunately, his mom had cancer last fall, and that's why he fell behind. And so those conversations, I would say, he wound up failing all of his courses. And so I said, you need to look at contacting the dean of students to do a retroactive withdrawal. So having those types of conversations, or maybe, there was a sickness or a car accident, something like that. So if it's something medical, if it's something like where it wasn't just you were lazy and weren't doing your work, a lot of times instructors, if you go to the dean of students, you get that excused absence notification. They're going to be willing to extend those deadlines. So regardless of if it says, we'll accept up to 3 days past the deadline, well, that might be different if you present the documentation. So it's always worth a conversation. So that would be the first thing I would do, would be to contact the instructor and just see what that would look like in terms of making up. And then if you're having trouble understanding the course content, maybe you fell behind because it just became so overwhelming that you just couldn't understand it. We do offer tutoring services. So tutor.com, they are very rigorous tutors. It's a super rigorous process in order to become a tutor through tutor.com. A lot of subjects are covered through that. So that's 24/7 access to that. And then we also have the UNG tutoring services, including the writing and the math and the science. So all of that could help students be successful should they struggle with the course content and things.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And
it's been lovely.
We'll see you soon for part 2.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye, y'all.